Hello guys, this is your Uncle BigFish, and on today's video I want to talk about Zayed. Now this is probably a very long overdue video because it has been quite some time before it was quite some time ago when he was released, and I did make a video when he was released. However, a lot of things have changed ever since then, and now we are going to be looking at something I can sort of say is the most updated guide for Zayed. I would say like my skill with this class is probably somewhere around the higher tiers of my classes. Not necessarily because I'm good at the class, but because the class is pretty easy to pick up. Like, this class is pretty damn simple. There's not really a lot of things that you need to learn. The class is pretty straightforward, and we'll just skim through the skills, and I'll tell you about some tips, and then I'll share to you my own combo that might help spice things up. Now let's talk about Zayed skills. Now the first one being Dune Slash. This is going to be one of your best skills. This is a knockback on hit and a knocks down on last hit. It looks like that. It's pretty fast. So after he spins for about 0.6 seconds, then he will knock someone down. And this actually goes pretty well in conjunction to Perch, which knocks back on last hit. Now, how does this do? This thing must be at a very early part of your combo. Why? Because this thing increases AP. It also does a bleed. So you want this to be at the very first the first 3 skills that you're casting, because this will enable the rest of the skills to deal more damage. And this is gonna be what's behind the whole combo idea. But we'll talk more about that later. Next will be the skill Purge. This one increases AP as well. And then there's Recover HP. So this is pretty much your healing skill. Does it heal a lot? It heals pretty decent, I would say. It's not great, but it's pretty decent. Now, what is this skill, and how does this work? Well, in this Zayed's kit, he's got something called Black Dragon skills. Now, what are Black Dragon skills? These are going to be your sand skills. Now, these sand skills will have a separate timer, and I'll explain more about that once we go towards the passive. But this thing deals a lot of damage. How much? A lot. Now, next will be Serpent Strike. This will be a knockback / knock up skill. And the whole reason to why we are not using this instead of Dune Slash for a combo is because of the AP boost. However, using Serpent Strike first is not bad. It's gonna be a lot better for you to go from Purge to Dune Slash, or Dune Slash and Purge. It doesn't really matter which way you go. You want this particular way of casting the skills. Serpent Strike has very, very long range. It doesn't look like it, but it actually does. This thing, unfortunately, has no branches. I mean, it has no AP boost or something else. You can go Serret or you can go all. Both works fine. Next will be Condemnation. This is going to be your first skill. It goes Super Armor into iframe into Super Armor. So you are grabbable as you're jumping, but when you're at the air, you are invincible. However, the moment you go down towards the going down trajectory, it's gonna be Super Armor again. So you are taking damage at the very last bits of the skill. The skill does have really good lingers, as you see there. It will have Super Armor until he almost pulled whatever the weapon is. The Super Armor persists for a very, very long time. The linger is crazy. As you see there, the linger is pretty crazy. Next will be Sand Nova. Now this is gonna be your main opening skill. And the way this works is, this thing hits twice. You can stall the first and second hit. It goes like that. And it says here it stuns on hit and daze on last hit. But this is not entirely true. So how does this work? If you hit someone and they get hit by the edge of the sword, as of the blade, it's I guess, as it's moving backwards, they'll get dazed. But if they hit by the front, it will deal a stun. I'll explain a lot more in detail probably here on skill practice, just so I can show you what it looks like. So, as you see there, I've only hit this guy once, but he got dazed, right? So the way it works is, you can go like this, and then you wait a bit, and then you hit like that. And that's basically how you do Zayed. Alright, now that we have talked about a few of his skills, now let's talk more about his passive and how does this class work. The rest of the skills pretty much do similar things as we talked about San Nova. The rest of the skills are pretty much as it is said. There's not really a lot of changes that you want to do. Paradise Search is an iframe skill. It's like an iframe skill, but it doesn't apply in the arenas. It does have some travel, but it's not a lot. And I don't recommend using it for arenas because you don't really use it. Plus, the windup is pretty long, so it actually kills you more than it helps. So, the last one will be the grab. This is pretty much a typical grab skill. However, there's a catch. His grab is not instant. So how this class's grab works is, there is a delay between the grabs. There are delays. And those delays makes him grab after a certain amount of time. I wouldn't put a number on it because I haven't tested. And I don't really want to test it because unfortunately I don't have my dummy account ready right now. Thus why we can't do the how long the testing is. The ping checker, I mean the frame checker is kind of broken, so I need to fix that one later on. But you can probably put an estimation. I'll probably estimate it's like half a second, probably half a second of wind up, and the moment the hand goes up, then it will grab. And finally, this will be your last skill, Serpent's Coil. This skill sucks. Do not use the skill sucks. Alright? Please do not use the skill. Trust me, do not use the skill for arenas. This skill sucks. Don't use it for arenas, don't use it for field. In fact, forget about it aside from just PvE shit. Like PvE is probably where this skill is for. Everywhere else, this skill is damn useless. Next will be skill Sanado. This is gonna be, well, it's like that. It's a movement skill, but it has nothing. It has no branches, it has no immunities. I don't recommend using this at all. It does have some damage, however, it's not great because it is nothing, basically. And it's a bound, which makes things worse. And finally, typical buff skill, nothing different. Now, let's talk about the interesting parts. This will be your passive, and this black snake, or in Korean, black dragon, or whatever the name is, applies black snake for 10 seconds upon using 2 skills. Now, what does this do? This thing increases PvP damage taken by 15%. So, you are 25% more tanky. So yes, this is a tanky class. However, it only lasts for 10 seconds. This is the thing that makes it probably not as prominent, because it will have some bits of downtime. So that's something you need to think about. Next will be the skill SandStorm. During a skill enhanced by Black Snake, evade or use a skill to summon SandStorm. Now I'll talk about this later. And this cooldown is 5 seconds. You need to remember that, because I'll be talking about this later on. Now, how does my combo work, and what are we trying to abuse when it comes to Zayed? Now, what happens is, if you are using both, if you use either Serpent Coil, Ensnaring Sands, or Purge, you will have something called SandStorm status. This SandStorm status allows you to cancel that skill with any other skill. So, for example, I can first use Purge, and then I'll use Dune Slash. I need to turn on the passive first. Let's go. Alright, now if you see here, I'm gonna use Purge and then Dune Slash. As you see there, the sand comes out, but the Dune Slash can also hit while Purge is active. Now this is very important. Why? Because this enables your combo to get longer, and this sand thingy, this sand snakes, deal a lot of damage, and that is actually your primary source of damage. So how do we abuse this in a single combo? If you do something like this, and then you grab, and then you use another skill, you can't. Ensnaring Sands cannot be cancelled. Why is that? It's because the sand form has a cooldown. For how long? For 5 seconds. So how do we make this possible for you to do this sand form twice in a single combo? Well, there's a way, and this is how. First, you need to be able to land your stun or your daze using Sand Nova. Let me just fix my skill settings first so I can show you this. Dune Slash, we'll put that here. Purge combination is there. We'll put Ensnaring Sands here. We'll put the grab here. And finally, the last bit will be the buff skill, which is All's Grace. Now, this is how the combo goes. You will daze the fucker. You will daze him. If you're too far, it will actually only stun. You need to get a bit close, like so. And once you get dazed, you're gonna press your Purge skill, which is this one, and at the same time, you want to be pressing your Dune Slash. I'll show that one again. I hope the Black Dragon's passive is up. It'll look kind of like this. This will knock him down, and then you will grab, and once you grab, by this time your sand form will be off cooldown, and you can use both Ensnaring Sands and then Purge. This is how you maximize your damage. Can this one-shot? Yes, it can. How much damage does this do? At max values, this thing have a 54,000% damage, or slightly above 53%, 53,000%, which is more than enough to one-shot from 0% reduce to 15% reduce. A high roll will one-shot 15% reduce. A medium roll will one-shot 0% reduce. That is the kind of damage this class have. Now, this is pretty much the combos. We're done talking about the skills, we're done talking about the combos. Now let's talk about class matchups. This class destroys probably every single melee class in the game. This class is mostly known as the melee class killer. Why? Because it kills pretty much almost all melee classes. During the Korean BKC, or the Korean Black Desert Karkia Championship, this class was against a Titan, and he got clapped. But I think that is not exactly the Titan's fault. I mean, clearly, the Titan is a broken class and has overwhelming advantage. However, I think that the fact that this person allows the Titan to actually regain back damage is actually quite funny on itself. I do think that some weakness is on the hands of the Zayed player not knowing the optimal combo. This class's full combo damage will do a minimum, okay? That combo that I just told you will deal a minimum of 75% to a Titan. And it has a very, very high chance to go up all the way to 90% in a single stagger. Now that is close to wall breaking potential. And this was not used by the Zayed player that lost to the Titan player on the finals of BKC Korea. So I think that we need to be able to learn from their mistakes. They don't know how to do this or that because they lack knowledge. They don't have a PvP scene. They don't have a competitive scene. Their competitive scene is inferior to us. And so, as global players, we need to show them that we are superior than Korean players. Thus, why this video is out in English, because the majority of them barely speak English. And those that do watch my channel, which is about 15% of my channel, well, good for you, because now you guys learn something that Koreans don't know. This is gonna be the Uncle BigFish original combo for Zayed. This was crafted by both me and Guillaume Mumtaza when Zayed was released. And I hope that you guys would enjoy this one. And I have some clips for you guys. By the way, before we end the video, I just want to say a couple things. Zayed has 3 problems. 1, it's got very, very bad matchup into ranged heroes or ranged classes, primarily Buccaneer and Raven. These 2 classes will kill you if they want to. They will kill you pretty bad. You can get absolutely fucked by these 2 classes. Probably more on Raven, less on Buccaneer. There are still ways to kill the Buccaneer. However, for Ravens, if you meet one and they're good, you're screwed. For Buccaneer, there are ways around that. However, I did not manage to find a Buccaneer during my recording session. I did wait for quite some time, but I just can't seem to find them at all. And because of that, please forgive me. Probably will look more into that in the next video if I get the chance. I'll probably upload that if I ever meet a Buccaneer, a decent Buccaneer, not a noob shit one, because that's redundant. 1 will be a problem against range classes, primarily Buccaneer and Raven. Number 2 problem, this class, especially this skill, Condemnation, is very easy to dodge. Why? Because it has a very long backswing. So what you want to do with this class is you want to linger. You want to linger your evasion, you want to linger your combination, you want to linger your Sand Nova, and this will pretty much give you a 24/7 rotation of super armor. This is true. This class does have near 24/7 rotation of super armor. It's very hard to grab, and it's also very painful if you get hit by the full combo. The first problem we have talked about being ranged, the second problem being Condemnation having a long backswing. And the last problem is that although this class is pretty okay against current meta classes like Titan, which many of you might not believe, he's actually not that bad against Titan. But this class really have a bad matchup against these 3 classes. 1 is Mystic. 2 is Corsair. Believe it or not, this class is horrible against Corsair. Absolutely horrible. And the last one is Lancer. If you don't know what's in common between all 3 classes that I just mentioned, they all have something called Phase. Now, what is Phase? Basically, it's Flying Wave or Fallen Angel. It's a skill where a player becomes invulnerable because it disappears from the battlefield. And this allows them to reposition and dry you out, or just trade you from long distance, or trade and waste your super armor indirectly. This will be the 3 really bad problems of Zayed. But aside from that, this class is pretty phenomenal in pretty much all criterias. It's pretty tanky, it does a lot of damage, it's got perfect coverage, it's got 3-4 gut break, and 2 anti-grab. It's also got a grab by itself, so it's pretty sustainable. You can put Zayed on many of your skills. You can put Zayed on Serpent Strike, you can put Zayed on Condemnation, and this will give you pretty good coverage in terms of sustain. And that's about it for a Zayed video. Enjoy the clips, boys.
But honestly, you've gotta know that this ain't living, but we could run from oblivion and let it burn, let it burn. You've gotta know nothing lasts forever. I never thought this would be our end, but it's nothing new. My lover's honesty, I could push it back down if I have to. If you want me to, 'cause we can run. Left to lose it.